guys know what side saddle is? I know you do. Azita, what does side saddle mean?
Like where you're both your legs are on one side of the saddle.
Yeah, so normally you ride a horse and, you're like this, but
you're
ladies,
on the side like this.
Yeah, ladies in the past, it was considered proper for them to ride the horse like this. And so the princess thinks to herself, yeah, I have heard that. People have told me that my whole life, but it's really hard to do cool things when you're riding a horse and you have to keep your legs off to the side and you're unbalanced and it's not as fun. So she never did. But she loved the prince, right? So she swings her legs over and says, okay, yeah, I can ride side saddle. And they go galloping off again, and he jumps over another hedge, and she tries to jump over the hedge.
And falls off.
And she falls because she doesn't have a good enough grip on her horse. And the prince comes striding up and says, well, ladies shouldn't jump. They shouldn't jump over hedges. And she's thinking, well, at least he likes me again. He helps her up, and again, she's taller than him. And she can see the look on his face as soon as she stands up, and he is not happy. And she thinks, what am I going to do? And she collapses to the floor. Just collapses. Again, oh, woe is me, right? Prince helps her up, carries her into the castle, and she thinks, this is perfect. I will pretend like I can't walk anymore. And that will solve the problem of me being too tall. If I never walk, we can ride, we can talk, we can do all these things, and it won't matter. So that's what she does, and she pretends that she can't walk anymore. And all the doctors and the wizard and I think there's even a witch that comes. They come and try to cure her of this illness of her not being able to walk. But the witch finally says, "There's no cure for foolishness." What does that mean?
You're just pretending.
Kiara?
He's just joking.
Yeah, she's not actually sick. So everybody, all the doctors and everybody, they leave. Nothing works because she really is just pretending. And the prince stays in the kingdom for a while. And he comes and visits her every day. And sometimes, he'll carry her to the window seat. And lots of lords and ladies and other people come in to talk to her. And it's kind of like games and parties going on in her room every day because that's where she has to hang out. And through the course of all of this, she has nothing else to do because she's always just, lying in bed or sitting at the window. So she starts to come up with, funny jokes to tell. And she starts saying really interesting, clever things. And that's kind of what she does with her time. Until one day, she says something particularly funny and clever, and the prince looks at her, and what do you think?
Girls are supposed to be clever.
Zita?
Again?
Do you think he's happy?
No.
No, he says to her, haven't you ever heard that women are supposed to be seen and not heard? She thinks, oh no, I talk too much. I better stop talking. And the prince leaves, and the next day when he comes back, again, there's a huge crowd around her, the wizard, the witch, the doctors, everybody are trying to figure out what's wrong, and he says, what's going on? The princess can't talk. And the prince is just fine with this. He thinks, no big deal. That's just fine. And so the princess, she has a little board that she could write messages to the prince on. So she would write things to him, what would the princess say to the prince?
I love you.
Oh, who did that?
Jigger.
Oh, things like,
Jigger.
that one doesn't work. Things like, and then sometimes she would maybe write something like, you are magnificent.
Or funny. Not funny.
But here's the problem. The prince actually couldn't read very well. So he would read her notes sometimes and have a hard time with them. And so finally she just stopped writing notes. And she decided she could say all those things just by looking and gazing adoringly at him. And the prince thought, this is great. She loves me. I can tell by the way that she's looking at me and she's not even saying anything and I'm taller than her. This is awesome. is well. What do you guys think? Is all well?
Mm.
Jager, what do you think?
But she can't do anything.
She-
Because she can't do anything anymore because she can't stand up and she can't talk.
So if she keeps doing that, do you think everything's gonna, they'll get married and happily ever after?
No.
Why not? Gavin?
She won't be able to walk to the wedding place.
Well, somebody could carry her. Do you think the prince is gonna be happy? Anita, what do you think?
I think maybe she's gonna stop doing that, and if he like tries to leave her, she'll just say, "That's your choice. If you don't accept me, we're gonna leave her."
That would be a good choice, wouldn't it? Well, so far he's had a problem with her height and had a problem with her talking. And sure enough, a few days later, he had another problem. He saw her dog sitting on the foot of her bed. And thought, what is that creature? And he looks at it, and he's disgusted, and he says, "What is that?" And he goes to hit the dog off the bed, and she stops him with her hand, and he gets mad and he leaves. Now that night, after she was sure everybody was gone, she whispered to her dog and said, "What am I going to do?" And the dog says, "Well, there's nothing to do. You'll have to get rid of me. He doesn't like me, and he won't let you take me with you if you marry him, so you'll just have to get rid of me." And she is not satisfied with this, so she calls the wizard and writes on her board and says, "What should I do? The prince doesn't like my dog, and I love my dog." And the wizard kind of says to the princess, "Well, things usually come in threes. Wishes come in threes. Sacrifices come in threes. And sometimes you have to sacrifice for the things that you love. You already sacrificed walking. You already sacrificed talking. So now it looks like you're going to have to sacrifice your dog." And she's not satisfied with this. So she thinks, maybe if I can cast a spell and make him not a dog anymore and, get rid of his enchantment, or change it so that he's something else, then I can keep him. But she tries everything and nothing works. And she doesn't know what to do. So every day she tells the dog to hide so the prince thinks that he's gone. And then it comes to her wedding day. The eve of her wedding, actually, the day before her wedding. And she is out of ideas. There's nothing left to be done. And she's supposed to marry the prince, and he doesn't want the dog. And she's so upset, and the dog says to her, sometimes you really do have to give up the things that you love. Or give up things for love. And she says, I can't give you up. And she turns away. She says, "What should I do?" And the dog doesn't respond, and she looks back, and the dog is laying motionless on the ground. And she goes over to him and tries to shake him, but the dog has died. And she is pretty upset. She grabs her wedding dress, and she wraps the dog in the dress and marches out of the castle. And on her way down the steps, she meets the prince, and the prince falls over because he's so surprised to see her walking. And he asks her, "What's going on? I thought you couldn't walk." And she says, You asked me to give up so much for you, and now I have lost my one true friend. I'm done. You can just go. I don't want to marry you anymore. And she goes off on her own to dig a grave and bury her dog. That night, her parents were kind of upset with her. They're like, "Do you have any idea what you've messed up? Like, we had an alliance going on, and you ruined it." And she says, "Yes."
Prince is checking out. Can you send her over to the elementary?
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, Carissa. I am a princess, and princesses shouldn't have to sacrifice everything. Princesses should stand on their own 2 feet. Princesses should always be loyal to the people that love them. And princesses should say what they think. And that made her parents think for a minute, maybe she's right. That night, she couldn't fall asleep, so she decides to go out to visit the grave of her dog. And while she's out there, or on her way, she starts thinking about everything she gave up for the prince who she thought she loved. And then she thought about what her dog gave up for her. And she goes down to the grave and she sees a white rose growing on the grave. And I just realized I forgot to tell you an important part of the story. That's okay. So she sees this white rose growing on the grave, and she remembered something that the dog had told her, that sometimes when you need, for a new beginning, you need to let something go. So basically saying that death can bring a new beginning. She's on her way back to the castle, and it's dark. And she comes up to him and goes, "Hello, can I help you?" And there's a man on the horse, and she looks at him and she thinks, well, he's kind of cute, kind of attractive. Maybe this is what my friend, the dog, meant. Maybe because I was able to let go of other things, this is my opportunity. And the princess says, "Well, welcome. You can come on in. We have plenty of space for you to stay." And the man gets off the horse and he bows down to kiss her hand. And as he straightens up, she's crossing her fingers and she's thinking, oh, please. What is she wishing for? Taller than her. And he stands up. Tamara, can you get the door, please? He stands up and her heart breaks. She is still taller than this guy. And she thinks, another one, gone. What do you think this new guy says? Maybe he doesn't care. What do you think?
I love tall people.
I love tall people. So she stands up straight and says, welcome. Come on in. And he looks at her and he says, thank you. I really appreciate being welcomed by such a strong and stalwart princess. And they walk into the castle. And that is the end of this story. Okay, questions? Yes.
Is she boy crazy?
Any chance?
Is she boy crazy? Well, she's lonely.
That doesn't mean go after boys.
Anyway, what did you guys think of that one?
I would take the dog over the boy any day.
Wait, can you
You
stop?
can
Come on, boys
I'm
are
on the
overrated.